Hello and welcome to this tutorial video on the Travel Management Company module. Let's start by looking at the data that we're going to be considering today. What we've selected is Point of Sale UK and the travel sector Europe to North America. We're also just looking at business cabin and direct flights. We'll be considering a given list of airlines that you can see here, as well as certain markets in this list here. Of course, it's up to you when using the dashboard to look at the full list of markets together or to look one by one at each market separately. The data we have here begins with observations in August of 2018 all the way until observations in March of 2021. And what that means in terms of departures is that we've got departure dates starting in August 2018 all the way until September 2021. So we're looking at 6 months out in terms of departure dates. You have the ability in this dashboard to look at different departure slots. So here we've got the departure slot 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., but that's up to you to define and select these departure slots in order to do specific analysis on these time slots. You can also select specific days of the week. So if you only want to compare Mondays to Mondays, you have the ability to do that. You can select either round trip or one-way data. And when looking at round trip data, you can select different stage durations. So here for business travel, we've got 1, 2, 3, and 7 days stay. So the purpose of this dashboard is to understand the price curve of each airline as we get closer to departures. So here, for example, you can see that for each of these different airlines, we can see the average price 180 days before departure, all the way up until 0 days before departure. This little table here on the side just tells you the total average price over the full departure period for each of these airlines. You have the ability to use a few options to change in what way you're looking at this data. So we've got the price component here. We're currently looking at just the outbound part of the round trip fares, but you can look at the total fare, the inbound fare, or the YQIR. You can, of course, switch between different currencies based on your preference. And also here we've got the different aggregation methods. So currently, as I mentioned, we're looking at the average price for each airline, but we could look, for example, at the minimum price of each airline. And what that's going to allow you to do is really see the entry price of each airline into these markets. And of course, you have the option to look at maximum prices instead. Let's move back to average prices for now. There are also various dimensions that you can play with to change how the graph displays the data. Currently, we're looking at this data separated by carrier. You could do that by carrier group or a number of other dimensions that are available here. For a deeper look into the data, you can look at the table here below the graph. Here, the data is divided up into each booking class. So currently what we're looking at is the availability per booking class for each of these airlines. For example, here for American Airlines in the business cabin, we have the Juliet, Romeo, Delta, and India booking classes. And what this summary here is telling you is that the Juliet class is available 100% of the time, Romeo 98% of the time, down to the India class, which was only available when observed 40% of the time. And of course, the table below that gives you a slightly more detailed breakdown where you can see that for each day before departure. So from here to at 180 days before departure, we can see that the India class was available 67% of the time when observed 180 days before departure. As we move closer to departures, the India booking class is available much less often. For this table, we can switch between the view by availability and a view by price. So here, of course, you'll be seeing the average price for each of these booking classes, either in a total summary or again by day before departure. And finally, there's one last thing, which is that this dashboard actually has two different views. Currently we've been looking at the view by days before departure, but you can actually move to a view by departure date, which I have here. So you can see the big difference is that the x-axis on the graph here, instead of being days before departure, we're looking at specific departure dates here in 2021, for example. And the same goes for the graph below that, which is now by departure month instead of days before departure. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.